Zambia, and welcome to another edition of the Manifesto Show. Now, of course, elections are just nearby. And on this program, of course, I get to interact with Mr. Peter Chanda, who is the president for New Congress Party, who has joined me in the studio today as we break word in regards to the election, as well as politics, of course. Great to have you on the program.
Thank you, and good evening to all the viewers.
Yeah. So let's just dive into it. Election around the corner, and perhaps before we dive into it, maybe the people would want to know who is Mr. Peter Chanda.
Well, my name is Peter Chanda, a Zambian, born from the family of 8. My father is from Wingu, in Chief Tungati's village. My mother is from Northwestern Province, that is in Kasempa, Majamu village. I'm married and I've got 9 kids.
Wonderful. Speaking about family issue, but I get these messages from different people asking me to ask the president of maybe their background education. Can you just give us a brief?
Well, I started my education in Kasama, that is at Lukasha Primary School. I did grade 1 and 2, and went to do grade 3 and 4 in Wansha, in Primary School. Came back to Lusaka. Did my grade 5 to 7 at St. Charles, and from there I was selected to be at Chuara Boys Secondary School to do my secondary education. But my father said, no, you can't go in a boarding school. If you are going in a boarding school, you go it alone. So he took me to St. Stephen's Secondary School. That's where I did my secondary education.
Wonderful. There you had it, viewers.
Bible college, graduated. Yeah, that's it.
So
from there, I just recently did my bachelor's degree in leadership, peace, and conflict resolution with the ICOF University of USA.
So just a quick one on the part of education, and I feel like education is a very important subject matter. You as a party, especially looking at what is happening in our education sector as a country, would you say that we have one of the best education that can actually give the right information to people so they can become productive citizens?
Well, I'm happy you've used that word productive. As New Congress Party, we stand on the 4 pillars as the first thing. Our 4 pillars we itemize in this way. We stand to promote peace, unity, stability, and productivity. I liked the fact that you said we need a productive citizenry. When you look at the curriculum that we have, no wonder from New Congress Party point of view, we are talking about redefining the art of politics. Our desire is to create a better change for the Zambian people by redefining politics. Politics is an entity through which policies are made to better the lives of the people. That's the reason why, in the first place, before I could even answer your question, we are talking about changing Zambia's political landscape and begin to look at politics not as a dirty game, but as a sacred entity through which service to humanity is provided. Hence, we call politicians to say they are just entering a vacation to serve the Zambian people. That's the reason why you find that every 5 years, there's a change of leadership. Even at party level, every 5 years, you go to a general conference, you renew your mandate, because it's not a permanent vacation where you have to stay in politics forever. But going to the question that you gave about the education system, we want to commend His Excellency, the first Republican President, for having done a lot to educate the masses, knowing the fact that he came from a teaching background, and also the father was a teacher and himself also became a teacher. I want to state one thing. We got the education which was free from Dr. Kaunda, but that education left something in us. We were trained to work.
Speaking about political hygiene, I think as a political party, you have assessed what is happening. And given your overview, how would you rank the political stability and political hygiene levels in our country as Zambia?
Well, let me state, just to finalize on the education. The education that we need is that which teaches people to become entrepreneurs and not people that memorize and they are trained to work. When you look at the political landscape today, arising from the education system that we got, many politicians capitalize on the preface of saying, I'll create jobs when I come into power. When I form government, I'll create more jobs for the youths. But I want to state that creating jobs as well as advancing your political agenda on telling the people that when I come into office, I'll create jobs without stipulating how, that amounts to lying. This is the more reason why our concept as New Congress Party is to redefine the art of politics, by creating a better change for the Zambian people, which is based on the truth. If I can define in one sentence the politics being exhibited by many opposition political parties today, is that which is centered on lies. And we launched, I think you saw if you visited our offices at one point, you always see me sit behind the banner where we've talked about the truth campaign. My assignment in the political scene, and I believe I come from a theoretical background, I'm a pastor, but I think if there's a burden that God has put upon me to bring in the political sphere, is that issue-based politics that are based on truth, unlike malice. We can talk about today, 3/4 of political parties will be able to bluntly say the PF have failed, they've done completely nothing. If you drive around the city of Lusaka and then you pass through those flyover roads, what is your conscience telling you? Have they done nothing? Within a short space of time, Lusaka has been transformed. Every district has been touched. 490 hospitals have been built. Can you say they've done nothing?
Now,
so the issue is describing the political landscape from the opposition side. Many of us that are considered to be in the opposition, we need to be factual. With the facts on the ground, we need to ensure that we state the agenda on how we can develop the country together with the people. And that's the message that we are advancing.
Great. Now, speaking about what is really happening in our communities, I think one of the key aspects that many Zambians will agree with is the high cost of living. Now, as I ask you this question, not because I want to divert from our previous conversation, I think this is the most pressing concern from the Zambian perspective. What is causing the high cost levels of living in our communities?
You have the answer. It's there in the public domain. We are faced with a vicious virus which has never come or befallen on the face of the sun. COVID-19. We have a challenge. We are not a productive country that produces everything. We're a land-linked country. We are dependent so much on imports than we can be able to export. This is the more reason why, from New Congress Party point of view, we are talking about productivity, taking our people into productive angles, taking our people into areas where they can be able to produce more, and we're able to become a great exporter of maize in the SADC region, as well as Africa at large and the world at large. Zambia is strategically located. 60% of the water bodies underneath, they are enshrined here in Zambia. We can't afford to be a country that is considered to be a poor country. When you look at the challenge that the world is facing, today I can tell you the Zambian economy is performing far much better than the South African economy. The South African economy is almost on a collapse. It's almost on its knees. That's the reason why you are finding that that finance minister from that country is busy ranting about Zambia, because Zambia is performing better than other countries in the South.
Speaking about
the issue about the high rise of commodity prices, we need to understand that we depend on imports. 3/4 of things. This is the more reason why we are talking about raising a generation of citizens that are innovative, and I think we can't be importing toothpick and we are expecting our culture to be strong. Toothpick, you understand? We can't be importing I don't know how you call them in English. We are importing. And yet we are producing cotton in Eastern Province. And yet we have farmers in the country that are producing cotton. We export it from there. They make those things from China and they bring them. We need to become innovative.
An assessment done to a particular community raises concern to say that the reason why they're not venturing into all these viable opportunities like agriculture, for example, is because the environment has not been made friendly. Even when it comes to capacity building, I think many community members are arguing to say that we're not being empowered with the right capacity building mechanism or skills that can enable us venture into such businesses. How is your party proposing in meeting this aspect?
This is where we come in with our manifesto as New Congress Party on agriculture policy, where we are talking about creating a stimulus package for the Zambian people. First and foremost, we ban at a point when we'll be able to stand, and unfortunately I'll be standing in 2026. But for now, you can see that when we began to propagate this, government reached even a point of announcing to say all the farmers that have maize and all those, they can export up to 20%. You can't create a system where every time you are banning and lifting the ban, the export ban. How do you expect the dollar and the kwacha to trend? We will create a stimulus package in this way. Our agriculture policy will be different. FRI operates like a grant, as a grant-ended institution at the moment. It solely depends on receiving funding from government. Subsidized funding, to subsidize on the maize, to subsidize on whatever. They receive funding. They don't make profit, but they buy the maize. Now, when you are entering into principle of buying and selling, FRI buys the maize and sells to the millers. But always they will buy even at a higher price and sell to the millers at a lesser price to cushion the price of milling. And this is where you have to commend even government to say, basically, we have the maize commodity or the meal prices always stabilized because always government has to put in a hand. Secondly, you can't have a situation where you have farmers that are always on fencing, and when they cultivate, they only grow enough to sell to FRA or any other briefcase farmer, briefcase maize trader. When they sell, you understand, they only remain, they will pay their school fees for their children and remain with a bit of maize in their food bank for a year, you understand, and keep a 400 kwacha to come and give the government so that they are able to get a fertilizer. And government produces huge sums of money to do that. Now, look at this. Here is what we are going to do. As NCP,
Before
will transform the
solution, Mr. President, we're going to take a break. We'll be right back. Welcome back. You're still watching Live TV, channel 112 on your Substar decoders. Make sure you follow us on Facebook. That's Live TV. Welcome back. It was a short break. Business has to be under. This is a very important issue we are having here.
Yeah.
As you were saying, that was a very important. I think when we talk about subsistence farmer, it's another issue that needs to be tackled properly. So maybe we can continue our conversation.
Yes. What I'm saying is this: we have peasant farmers that contribute mainly to the food security in the country. You know that in this country, commercial farmers, they don't sell their maize to FRI. They keep until when government lifts up the ban of export, then from there they offload and make their profit. But our peasant farmers, they've consistently been dependent on government giving them fertilizer. Why there is no stimulus package? So as the NCP, one of the things that we want to state immediately that we want to embark on is transforming the Food Reserve Agency into a grain marketing and food reserve authority. Once that is done, the second thing is that FRI will have two mandates: buy maize for strategic reserve and buy maize also to export. Now, that will make FRI to be viable, a viable entity that can stand on its own. Because look, we have a market in Congo. Do you know who is feeding that market in Congo? It's commercial farmers in South Africa who are selling their maize and their milling.
Now, just on that note, Mr. President, sorry to cut you short. There has been a say in by some farmers, and I'm not going to make mention, saying that they would want to take their market in different countries, like for example Congo, and they are stopped by the government agencies to take in maize there in the name of food security.
This is what I'm saying. We create a simple policy. That's why we have parliament. That's why we have members of parliament. A member of parliament should not come here and cheat you to say, when I'm voted in as members of parliament, I'm going to create jobs. No. The only way they can create jobs is by ensuring that they come up with policies that will make our Zambian people thrive. Now, here is a policy from NCP. We put a policy to say every commercial farmer, when they grow their maize, 30% of their maize, they should sell to FRI. That is on commercial farmers. 70% they can export. Now, the first issue which will be required, the road infrastructures are done in 3/4 of the areas. All we need are those rural connectivity and agro bridges to be completed to ensure that the entire country is connected in terms of road network. But at the same time, build more storage sheds for the FRI. When more storage sheds are built, then we come up with now the policy. Every commercial farmer must sell at least 30% of their grain they produce to FRI at an FRI price. Then FRI, upon receiving 30% of what a particular farmer has released, they recommend to Minister of Agriculture for issuance of export permit for the 70% of the grain that is remaining. Then we come to a peasant farmer. In this, we are stimulating them and want to stimulate growth and ensure at the end of the day we have the forex coming and we have even our own peasant farmers enjoying, earning foreign currencies. We tell them, here is a package. Supply to FRI 20 ton. We'll give you export permit for 40 ton. So a farmer now will work hard to make sure that he produces 60 ton. You understand? 60 tons of maize. So that he knows to say, 40 tons, if I'm able to sell in dollars, I would have made money. If I sell to FRI this 20 ton, then I would have provided for the food security and FRI also. Secondly, for those that cannot, now in this it will create FRI having excess in terms of meeting the threshold, because you have even these commercial farmers also contributing to the food security package. As a result, each year FRI will have surplus to export and be able to handle their bills and the like.
I know, Mr. President.
At the same time, we have these commercial peasant farmers earning forex, making their profit. Because today I can tell you, our farmers, they are operating on a raw deal. It's a raw deal because they simply produce and they make very little. I've been a maize trader, and I can tell you, it's a challenge to be a grain trader because you can find that you can load a 30-ton truck. You go to sell. Maybe the profit that you'll be able to make is just about 1,500 or maybe 2,500.
Speaking about
from
the cost of doing business, which is very key as well in an economic perspective. I think we all looked at the dollar, how it keeps on going up. I think this is another trend that actually the Zambian people are worried about. Now, of course, you have made mention to say productivity is one of the key pillars as a party. But again, I just want to look at from the perspective of now, what should be done? What can you propose? But before I dive into that, before you answer that, let's just clear this one out. Are you contesting the coming general election?
Well, no, I'm not contesting in this election, and I already made my statement on this one. We decided, because I can tell you that we made a decision after receiving calls from our people that wanted me to stand, and we did a marathon move. And I want to thank my team, my media team, my security team, and the leadership. We moved around in provinces, to do our general conferences because we made a decision was arrived at with the pressure of our people. I had always stated that I will not be able to contest the 2021. I'll prepare for 2026. But we needed to do what is necessary to make sure that we are ready to contest. And I'm happy that we moved around, did our provincial conferences. We remained with a few provinces that did not touch, but we were able to send our people to finish up with those programs. And we did our general conference, and we are ready to to stand. But in the long run, we saw that even if we stand, when ECZ announced the regulations of these elections, where there will be no public rallies and the like, and no, we are not ready to field parliamentary candidates at all levels, because we announced our decision to stand in this election late. So we didn't have a lot of applicants who wanted to stand as members of parliament and councillors. So unless, for me, I believe politics is a game of facts. You can't sit in the comfort of your home right here in Lusaka and say you want to be president. You've not been everywhere. You need to have your presence at a ward level, section level, across the country. Then you can be confident to say, I'm going to scoop this election.
This year has brought this year alone, Mr. President, has brought its fruit of a trending version of alliances. Are you in alliance with any political
Yes,
party?
we already announced. We reverted to our alliance with the Patriotic Front, and we've urged all our members across the country to support President Gachagua in this election. But we've flooded some councillors.
Okay.
So councillors that are standing, and just to hit the ground to make sure, and basically we've settled on councillors standing because we are announcing to say every other political leader that wants to stand, you should make sure that you make your presence known at the ward level, because it is the wards that will be able to campaign. Our friends are fortunate from the Patriotic Front because they are at every ward, you understand? So it doesn't take the president to go around the country. He already has the full soldiers. But for us, we have provincial executive and district executive across the country. That I can tell you, those leadership structures, we have them. But if I have to tell you to say we have a section, ward, and branches across the country, it's only in 4 provinces where we have this. Northwestern, here in Lusaka, and part of Southern Province, where we can say we have representation at ward level and others. But we decided to say, look, we can't differentiate ourselves. And moreover, we had another issue that made me to rescind, and that was the issue of our logo. The logo that was there, we had written to ECZ, that was in March, and they never gave us a response until the time when my Secretary General went to clear the payment, the transfer of my payment. That's when they queried to say they kept on going there. The man who was assigned by Mr. Shindano to work on the thing to change our logo was never seen in the office. They kept on going there until the last day when they went to clear the payment. That's when the Secretary General now queried with Mr. Shindano's office. I've been sending my people here to come and do the change. No, that's when now you can imagine my file was found somewhere in the archive. So it was bad for that reason, for these 2 reasons. COVID-19 restrictions, because I can only compete if I don't have councillors and all these across the country. If I'm able to go around the country and do public rallies where people are able to see me, you understand, and able to appreciate what I'm able to say face to face. But yeah, anyway, we've attempted, but yes. 2026, we'll get it.
We just wanted to clear that one. And one last fact is that you did make payments for your candidate.
Yes, we made that.
Just to clear it for the general public. So this decision arrived after even the payment.
After making the payment, it was at the very day when they went to do whatever. After that, they came back. Because the other issue is that as I went around doing provincial conferences, there is a particular, the logo that we are selling to our people is different from the logo that was being used by my predecessor, which we discarded as a party. So I would have received queries from you to say, but you've been advancing this agenda on this logo promoting peace, unity, where we are talking about Pabantu. Now, what is this where there is a transformer?
It's good that we have gotten those facts right.
Yeah.
So now we were talking about the interest rate. What's your take on the high interest rate? Now we're seeing now the dollar escalating almost on a monthly basis. I think there's always an increase. People are complaining. The cost of doing business is completely hard.
Well, let me state, all these answers can only be answered when we embark in making this country productive, especially through agribusiness. I'm happy with the fact that government has embraced my dear brother and colleague is marijuana scheme, the growing of marijuana and for medicinal purposes. That will be able to help in terms of cushioning and creating um, forex coming into the country through the export of that. Secondly, I want to state that unless we become productive as a people, unless we capitalize on the weakness of countries like Congo, DR, and these others, where we're able to tap the dollars to come into the country, our dollar will keep on trending. You know, Zambia is running under, we have constantly been under a mono economy that is solely dependent on the copper. Even though the copper prices are good now, but I want to state that what's the efficient production that is happening. Of course, we know that at the moment with the receivership on KCM, they are not producing as expected when the mine is running, is being run. You understand, because it's still running, but of course with other litigation matters in the courts. Secondly, recently government took over Mopani. I don't think it's operating to that capacity because those formalities of total takeover and those others have been done at the moment. So we are dependent on the mines from Northwestern. So we can be able to looking at a fraction of what is happening and the impact of the forex that is coming in the country. Will continue to have a situation where the dollar keeps. But I'm happy with the fact that government has taken measures, and the Bank of Zambia governor, the secretary to the treasury, they are doing their best to make sure that the kwacha is not performing badly like it is happening in South Africa, like I've stated. Our kwacha is at least trending between 22, and it has remained a little bit stable, meaning that there is a bit of stability in as much as we can be able to say, yes, the impact is being felt, because today a little bottle of salad is expensive than it was. These are facts that we need. Then on the interest rate, we need to understand that when we create a productive citizenry and the country becomes productive in a lot of spheres, let's involve ourselves in aquaculture to reduce on the import of fish in the country. Once we reduce on the imports of certain things, then I can tell you that you will see that our culture will be stronger. You will see liquidity in the bank. Secondly, we need to create a system where we phase out the cash syndrome in the country. Purchasing of several things in this country is always done by cash. As a result, there is not much money in the banks. But if we are able to go to a cashless kind of situation in the country, we will reduce corruption, and at the same time, banks will have funds. You understand? And when there is money in the banks, they'll be looking for people to borrow. As a result, because there is a lot of liquidity that is circulating within the systems, you understand, the lending rates will be lower. But today, very few Zambians are consistent in terms of banking.
You are watching the Manifesto Show on Live TV channel 112. We're going to take our last break. We'll be right back. Welcome back. You're still watching Manifesto Show on Live TV. Mr. President, the issue of COVID-19 is something that has impacted a lot of sectors in our country. We cannot deny that fact. But this year is a different year because it's a very important year as we'll be going to the polls. Now, just an overview as a party, how is COVID-19 and how will the political players circle around and navigate around, especially during the pandemic?
Well, I want to state that it's one fact that no one should blame anyone, and I wouldn't want to see anybody raising matters of litigation or petitioning should they lose an election. They could have taken a leaf if they are not ready. They should take a leaf from me, who decided to withdraw even after making a payment, because I know and I foresaw to say, look, it is going to be a challenge for me to sell myself to the Zambian people, especially that I'm introducing myself on the ballot for the first time and fighting giants, the main giant who is the Patriotic Front, and the others that we are thinking that they are giants, but they're not so much, who are the UPND, They are losing grip each and every day. I'm a politician, so allow me to say what I can say. So I want to state that COVID-19 has brought a very big challenge to the democratic space in the country, as well as the economic status of several sovereign states in the world. And it's one fact that we have to live with and accept it. The sooner we accept, the better. Should we sacrifice our people because we want to be presidents and we want to campaign favorably and then subject our people to a situation that will make them attract COVID? Then who are we going to govern? So the issue is that we go with a new norm. Let's campaign as prescribed by ECZ. Let's avoid overcrowded, and let's make sure that we use our foot soldiers for those that can. So we adopt new model of campaigning. Indoors, of course, limited number of people, and always in touch with the Zambia Police and the Public Health Department under the Lusaka City Council. Those are measures that we need to adhere to and comply with. The safety of our people is paramount. In fact, if I was to say a very strong sweeping statement, it's a sweeping statement which should not be bought by anyone. We would have gone the Rwandan way. Say now, President Edgar Lungu, all of us political leaders have agreed we shouldn't have an election, but see how we can be squeezed, all of us, in the governance process for the next 10 years. Let's build the Zambia's economy. That's what they did in Rwanda. And they said for the next 25 years, we're not going to have any election. We are going to concentrate. We are coming from the Rwandan genocide. Today, Rwanda is a middle status income country. You understand? We forgo our egos and our selfishness.
Is that not killing democracy, Mr. President?
It's not killing democracy. There is a system. Look at China. What makes their economy strong? Democracy is always costly, but it leaves the people not too much in the productive way. Because every 5 years, you understand, every 5 years, you go back. So you cannot be able to talk about creating economic stability where there is always, you understand, even the cooperating partners that are coming, they want to come and invest their money. Why are people content to invest their money in Rwanda? Because they know there is policy consistency. Why are people interested, even giant countries like in the US, the Western world, they are investing their money in China? Why? It's because there is a stable, consistent policy in China. In China, there is no issue of elections. You understand? And where is China today?
Thank you very much for coming to the show. Your last remarks as we end and wind up this.
I want to call upon the Zambian people that as we go to the poll, just know that in Bemba we say chintu chintu omwene. I, for one, foresaw to say I cannot compete against President Edgar Chagorungu because he's a formidable force in himself. He's performed well. He's demonstrated exemplary leadership in the past 5-6 years that he has been in office. Zambia is being transformed to the better, and I'm happy that I learned best leadership qualities from President Edgar Chagorungu. So my call to the Zambian people is that come August 12th, give President Lungu the vote so that he finishes. He just has 5 years. Let's allow him to finish so that we see where he will take Zambia in the next 5 years. We have seen that in the 5 years that he has been in office, today we can talk about Lusaka decongestion. Today we can talk about Maina Soko Hospital being transformed to the better. Today we can talk about Levi Mwanawasa Teaching Hospital. There was only University Teaching Hospital. Today we are proud in the country that we have 2 teaching hospitals. A state-of-art facility has been put in where there was Chainama Hospital, now which was also at first Lusaka General Hospital until the late Michael Chufyasata named it Levi Mwanawasa. Let's look at the 690 health posts, the mini hospitals that have been done, dotted around Lusaka. You know, the man has really done. Today we can be able to talk at Avantu Tavareshitama Jombu Kwevende Msoeto Market. There are roads everywhere. He is touching every district. He has not left anyone behind. So let's give him the last 5 years mandate. Changing government at this point will be suicidal, because you are bringing in somebody that will come to learn. It will take them 6 months, and I'm being honest with you. When a president takes over office, he has to be oriented. For about 6 months, they take 6 months or so. Secondly, they'll bring in a team that does not know anything. All those, they have to be oriented for them to know and to adapt to the norms of running government. So my call to the Zambian citizen is that your man and your vote should be on President Lungu and the running mate that he has chosen, who is Professor Nkandruo. He's shown that he respects the UN Charter resolution of having women to participate and be in decision-making position. And I want to congratulate Honorable Nkandruo and President Lungu, and I want to state to all members of NCP across the country, your vote should be on President Edgar Chagwa Lungu, because he's already demonstrated on how Zambia is going to recover economically. But 2026, your vote will be on Peter Chanda.
Thank you very much, President Peter Chanda, for coming to the program. That was President Peter Chanda, President for New Congress Party, NCP. Until next time, it's bye-bye. Have a blessed evening, Zambia.
Thank you.